there will be time to speak and offer amendments and debate them and vote on them.
But I'm saying just before we actually vote on the bill, I just have a comment to make. Is this the appropriate time?
The better time would be after, but if the gentleman wants to proceed now.
Madam Chair. Well, I do because of sort of the backwards way we do this in the committee.
Okay.
I want to explain my vote, and I do want to start on a positive note. I want to thank you, Madam Chair, and Vice Chair Murray, for the tone that you've taken in these proceedings. I also want to thank my partner, the chair of the CJS committee, Senator Moran and his team, for all their work on the CJS bill. I think if you look at the bill in its totality, it provides in a bipartisan way for critical priorities that we all agree are necessary for the country. And I'll have more to say about the positive aspects of the bill a little later. But it does have a big glaring hole in it, Madam Chair and colleagues, which is that it fails to protect longstanding bipartisan congressional decisions. Today, it's the FBI headquarters. Tomorrow, it could be any project anywhere in the country. And I do just want to take a moment to reflect on the long journey that we took with respect to the FBI headquarters. Many members here have been part of that process because for years, the CJS committee and the FISG subcommittee have set aside funds as a down payment for a future FBI headquarters. $555 million has been accumulated in the FBI capital fund in this bill. $843 million has been accumulated in the FISG bill for GSA. And that was a down payment that was then intended to go toward whatever site was selected as part of a multi-year process. Because years ago, it was decided not just that the current FBI headquarters is inadequate, but for security reasons and to meet the mission requirements of the FBI, they needed a new site. And as part of that security component, they decided it was important to move the FBI to a campus-like setting, like we have for the CIA, like we have for the NSA. And a long process was entered into. There were 2 sites in Maryland that were looked at. There was 1 site in Virginia. We all appeared before joint committees of the FBI and GSA, and ultimately a decision was made that it would be in the best interests of the FBI to move to the Greenbelt, Maryland site. Well, as Senator Murray indicated, a few weeks ago, the administration just announced that it wanted to snatch the $555 million that had been set aside for a down payment on that selected site and use it instead to move the FBI into the Ronald Reagan building. No analysis done with respect to security requirements, no analysis done with respect to FBI mission requirements, no review of the underlying statute as to the purpose of the Ronald Reagan building, no analysis of what they would do with current tenants in that building.
Excuse me, Senator Van Hollen.
Yeah.
As the vice chair of the subcommittee, you are going to get to
No, I understand that, Madam Chair. I just want to explain my vote to my colleagues, and I will be quick. I'm getting near the end. I think this is a question. You know, Senator Murray talked about ending rescissions, ending impoundments. This is a rescission by another name. So I actually think this is a test for the subcommittee as to whether or not we're going to stand up to whatever executive branch it may be to support bipartisan congressional decisions that were made through the same process that we're going through right now over a multi-year period. And I would suggest that we deal with that. You're right, Madam Chair, I will offer an amendment on this later, and I hope people will support the amendment. But because of our process of voting first, I'm going to vote no. If my amendment passes later, I will change my vote to yes. But I do want to end with this. I do think this is about much more than the FBI building. I think this is a fundamental question about whether this committee is going to surrender its prerogatives and powers to the executive branch, whoever may be present at the time. And that's why I will vote no.
Thank you. Let me explain to all committee members that each chair and vice chair of the subcommittee will present their bills. Will have an opportunity, any member, to offer amendments. We will vote on that. And if someone, as a result of the outcome of those amendments, wants to change their vote, they are allowed to do so. So this is the traditional way that appropriations has always proceeded. And the problem is that if we start the debate before we do the traditional way, we will never get to the votes until we start getting called to vote on the floor.